Welcome to our weekly newsletter. Today, we have a whole selection of hot topics that will not leave you indifferent. It looks like Russia may well join China in the event of an attack on Taiwan. At the same time, the US and its allies are working on an alternative to China's ambitious One Belt, One Road project. And is America increasing its military advantage over China? About all this and more further on in the program. Stay tuned. But before we delve into the news, an important digression. You probably know that companies everywhere are collecting your personal information, but you may not realize exactly how many companies are doing it. Dozens, hundreds, and most of them you've probably never even heard of, and you have no idea what they're doing with your data. One of the biggest companies shamelessly exploiting your personal information is the well-known TikTok. We've all heard about TikTok challenging in court a recent US law that would force the Chinese side to give up TikTok or the app would be banned. But as it turns out, TikTok states in their petition that they can't secede from China because the Chinese Communist Party doesn't want them to. I'm sure that will help their legal case enormously. But the US military seems to have a new advantage over China in the Pacific. The fact is that the new drone delivery service could help tremendously in supplying US troops in the event of a war between the two powers. I wonder if the soldiers will be delivered fast food from Arby's instead of army rations. I'm not sure it's good to go to war with a stomach full of greasy food. Meanwhile, the CCP continues to conduct numerous joint readiness drills in or near Taiwan's waters and airspace, involving the Air Force and Navy. According to senior Taiwanese security officials, Beijing will only ramp up and intensify these maneuvers in time for the inauguration of Live Saying as Taiwan's new president on May 20. China is acting like a jealous ex who showed up at his ex-lover's wedding and turned up the heavy metal at full force. Come on, see, let the situation go. And here's some disturbing news for Taipei. Apparently, Russia is hatching plans to help China in the event of an attack on the island. What? Russia invading a sovereign country? Come on, what's next? Are you going to tell me Putin has weathered nipples from constantly flaunting his nakedness in the Russian cold? At a recent congressional hearing, U.S. intelligence officials said that China and Russia are increasing military cooperation, including plans for Taiwan. Moreover, the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency made it clear. Essentially, if conflict breaks out with either country, there is a high likelihood of a second front. China is already supporting Russia in its war against Ukraine, so the situation resembles that of friends scratching each other's backs. Well, yes, because in the current realities, Russia is such a valuable military ally if you settle for allies who build suicide tanks that only blow themselves up. Very effective. Speaking of the boundless partnership between Russia and China, Xi Jinping continues to claim that his country is neutral in the Russia-Ukraine war, but at the same time, peace talks, in his opinion, should take into account Russia's position. So it's not so much about unlimited friendship as it is about a keep in mind, my friend approach. After all, being Russia's friend isn't exactly profitable right now, buddy. Xi Jinping is visiting Europe and many old world leaders are trying to convince him to take a tougher stance on Russia. But while they're exercising that, Xi is still insisting on China's neutrality and that the West should instead press Ukraine to make concessions. I wonder what concessions he wants to see from Taiwan. And if you thought Taiwan was the only one being pestered in the Pacific, you were wrong. Australia is complaining about a dangerous sonar attack launched by China against its HMAS Toowoomba ship. I too am puzzled why the CCP would even choose to attack a ship with that name. Is it threatening someone? The incident took place in contested international waters near Australia. Wow, China is contesting a stretch of open ocean again. Is there even a body of water they don't claim? I wouldn't be surprised if next they try to take over San Diego under the pretense SeaWorld is ours. Ironically, Australian Navy Vice Admiral Mark Hammond raised this incident with Chinese Admiral Hu Zhongming at a symposium called Seas of a Common Future. As for China and security issues, the Communist Party continues its glorious tradition of quality infrastructure projects. One of them, a highway collapse, killed 48 people. The tragedy is believed to have been caused by heavy rains a month ago, while there could have been many more victims. One Chinese driver helped reduce the number. He used his car to block other cars from falling into the resulting hole, and his wife got out and warned other drivers of the danger. The Chinese Workers' Development Foundation in Alabama awarded this hero about $1,400, which he then donated to the families of the victims. After all, While China's communist regime is horrible and vicious, that doesn't mean all Chinese are the same. CNN reporter and author Fareed Zakaria criticized Republicans for confronting China, calling the strategy reckless and dangerous. Zakaria warned of the threat of containing China, as the U.S. would likely be on its own if it went for it. That I wonder how the Quadro security alliances and AKUS originated, and why all these joint naval exercises under U.S. auspices, or how the whole world rallied to prevent Huawei's 5G networks from becoming ubiquitous. Oh, and the Biden administration continues most of Trump's China policy as if it's not just a Republican strategy. In the Maldives, for those Americans who aren't strong on geography, President Mohammed Saleh's party won an impressive victory in the recent parliamentary elections. It is also seen as a strong endorsement of his plans to distance the Maldives from India and move closer to China. Outgoing opposition parliamentary parties oppose the Chinese-funded infrastructure projects that Saleh tends to implement. Beijing will no doubt want to use the Maldives as a springboard to further promote the Belt and Road Initiative and contain its rival India. Let's hope they can do better than Sri Lanka. Greetings again. China is building up its space capabilities and sending a rocket to the backside of the moon. Isn't it entertaining how China always launches rockets to the dark side of the moon where no one can see them, and then announces that they have supposedly discovered something amazing there? The unmanned Chinese 6 rocket launched from the Wenchang Cosmodrome on a 53-day mission to deliver samples from the backside of the moon, but it also carries Pakistan's first lunar mission with a satellite on board. How nice that they are working together to spread Xi Jinping's ideas to Martians. No wonder aliens don't want to visit us. Xi Jinping is using China's space program to reach even deeper into the global south. Xi has high hopes for developing joint space research and development, especially in the Caribbean and Latin America. After all, it's not at all if the CCP wants to use such research in the U.S. neighborhood for espionage or anything like that. Let's hope the economic cooperation works out better for them than it did for Sri Lanka. And for any Martians watching this video, if the PDA suggests you build something, just say, Balalaka, 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 balalaka. That means in Martian, thanks to us, we'll get by somehow. But not all is rosy for China in the global south, and the U.S. has certain ways to contain China without resorting to regime change. Huge debts to China worry some Central Asian countries such as Kyrgyzstan. That country's total debt to China since 1991 is a fabulous $6.2 billion. That's 45% of its GDP. Okay, at least they'd have some of the quality Chinese infrastructure. But the maturity date of these once-delayed payments is about to come. Beijing has already rejected Kyrgyzstan's request for an additional deferral. Anti-Chinese sentiment is high in the country, and there have been protests against Chinese investments in 2019 and 2020. Let's hope things work out better for Kyrgyzstan than they did for Sri Lanka. And this is one of the reasons why the United States is working with the Philippines to develop an alternative infrastructure project to China's One Belt, One Road initiative. Recall that the Philippines withdrew from the BRI project a few months ago. Currently, tensions between China and the Philippines are off the charts, and China is trying to reduce them by firing water cannons at Filipino fishermen. The project, called the Luzon Corridor, is the first of its kind, a series of investment projects designed to form an alternative to China's Belt and Road. The goal is to deepen U.S. ties with its regional allies and improve Southeast Asia's infrastructure. The move was announced by President Biden while hosting Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at the White House. Yes, Japan is also participating. Beijing certainly won't like that. The U.S. and Japan will provide funding to deploy technology in the Philippines that will improve wireless connectivity throughout the region. As the One Belt, One Road project falls apart, sometimes literally, this seems like the best way for Washington to contain China's growing influence, or rather cushion its fall. And contrary to what CNN says, both political sides would agree. Thanks for watching. Get like, subscribe to the channel, and take care.